Good afternoon, short-term shoppers. You are now in the Short-Term Show special episode series on the Western North Carolina mountains. So this is everywhere from Asheville all the way down to Bryson City, basically that entire southwestern corner of the state. We're going to be doing a deep dive, 10 episodes worth of content on investing in this part of North Carolina. Now, we do have some supplemental materials for you over on our website, things like purchase prices of investment properties in this market, as well as the AirDNA income data. Thank you, friends over at AirDNA. So if you guys want to know what all of these properties cost, the different purchase prices, you can see that on theshorttermshop.com, as well as the income data. You can find that there too. If you guys want to buy an investment property in Western North Carolina with a short-term shop agent, email us at agents@theshorttermshop.com and we will get you hooked up. Or if you just have more questions, you want to come hang out with us some more, we've got a great Facebook group with a wonderful community of investors over at Short-Term Rental, Long-Term Wealth, same title as my book. And if you guys want to chat with us live anytime, we've got a call every Thursday, and you can join that at strquestions.com. We look forward to seeing you over there. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Short-Term Show special episode series on the North Carolina side of the Smokies. We have a great cast of characters today who I cannot with Joe. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, then you know what I'm talking about. We'll introduce everybody on the panel really quick. Got a few, everybody's a familiar face at this point, but a few different people than we've had on the rest of this series of episodes. So Jay, say hello.
Hi, I'm Jay. I'm the agent out here in beautiful Western North Carolina, Viking enthusiast, and I'm looking forward to crashing a deal with you.
And if you close a deal with Jay, he will take you axe throwing.
That's right.
Next, we have Joe, which again, if you guys are watching on YouTube, he has set himself up this set, for lack of a better word, with his coffee, and he's got his legs crossed with his fireplace in the background. And it's a scene. So Joe, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes. Thank you, Avery. See, we do things different here in the North Carolina Smokies. And so we're very classy, fire pits, coffee, many leather-bound books, as you can see. But I'm the agent for the short-term shop in the Carolina Beach market. I'm an investor myself. Got a couple mountain properties up in Banner Elk and Carolina Beach. And I'm excited to be here. And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Joe. Next, we have the infamous Chuck Kramer. Chuck, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, investor, retired tech exec, and master of quite a number of different topics. So, which is why I'm on all these different podcasts. So I feel like I can contribute.
Yes, you absolutely can contribute. So today we're talking about the setup process. So you've already closed on your property, you're getting set up. So where do we start? Do we start with the property itself and the furniture, et cetera, or do we start with our systems and people?
Well, it depends on if you buy it furnished. As long as the furnishings are nice, you can get started with your systems and people, and just add that as you go. But you definitely want to get that. Being up in the mountains, there's, especially in like Haywood County and Swain County, there's just not a whole lot of furniture shops that are close by for you to get that furniture. So you have to, travel to Asheville or, Wayfair or something to get your furniture. So it would behoove you to start on your systems and do what makes sense at the time.
So yeah, I guess it depends on how far along the house itself is.
Right.
100%. 100%
yeah, well,
across the board.
Let's start with people. So we talked a little bit about how to source your vendors last time or on the last episode. So let's talk today about how to get them set up and rolling. Chuck, what do you have to say about this?
Well, the people that you find are going to help set the tone for that. In a lot of cases in different markets, we have good cleaners that may not necessarily be tech savvy. So you don't want to be pushing them into a system that uses Slack and an app that they're not familiar with. You're going to lose them. You're going to have to adapt and meet somewhere in the middle on those things. So when you have a list to start out, that's one of your questions for those people. How do you want to communicate? How do you work? How do you make your assignments? And then you need to figure out a way to work that into your system. In a market like here in the Carolina Smokies, you don't have a big labor pool. You're not going to be able to go in and say, I'm going to do it this way. And if you want to work for me, this is the way you do it. They don't want to, they won't work for you. It's really that simple. So you may end up, if you're in multiple markets, sadly, you may end up with multiple systems one for each market. You need to make sure that it's the way you can communicate and you set expectations ahead of time, and they need to do the same. And it's your job to ask them what their expectations are of you too. I don't care whether you're talking about a housekeeper or a handyman, or even some markets are big enough or have people that will just help you with setup, sort of a concierge kind of service. But need to make that clear ahead of time. You don't want surprises.
Yeah. And so for those listeners who have let me back up. A lot of investors want to hand their cleaner a checklist and say, here, these are the things I want you to do. Do you think this is a market where that's going to fly?
Yeah, I think so. Within reason, if you go like, here, I need you to trim the trees and all this stuff, the cleaner's probably going to look at you and go, yeah, no, sorry. But, as far as, I don't, the state up here doesn't, I'm going on hot tubs for a second. The state up here doesn't require you to do it after every booking, but I know some people like to do that. So hot tubs are very popular up here, but it's kind of hit or miss with your cleaner, whether they'll want to, it takes a while to fill up a hot tub and completely drain it. So, it just depends on your cleaner and what they might charge you a little extra, but, in my experience, and people I've talked to, as long as your list is reasonable, it's fine.
Yeah. I'd be okay with a checklist for a cleaner, but not expecting them to check off every box and send it to me every time, just to hey, these are all the things, just so you don't forget to do one. I think that works fine in most markets, but a lot of markets, like Chuck said, they're not tech savvy, or they already have their processes in place. This is a market that has a lot of short-term rentals. All the cleaners kind of do the same thing and have the same processes, and you don't want to bog them down with paperwork, so to speak. So I would caution against having someone check off every single box on a checklist and send it back to you after every clean, but that's just me.
Yeah, and Chuck's absolutely right. Up here, I would totally recommend working with their process, because it just, where it is, we don't have a lot of computer stuff out here. So we're in the mountains. So it might be easier, and some of your cleaners are older up here, they're retired and they do this, just to make some money on the side. So they might not be, tech savvy. So you're going to have to work with their process.
Not to just completely throw more and more praises on Chuck, because he absolutely is crushing across the board, but setting the expectations up front, most important in my opinion, because the start of getting your property up and running, that's the sprint mode in my opinion. That's where we're here to really maximize our time so we can get it up and listed, and having that conversation of, this is the property, this is what we want it to look like, and can you do these things, and just being very open and honest with your cleaner. That goes farther than most everything else that you're going to do, in my opinion.
No, you're right. The crux of our business is a good housekeeper. That's the bottom line. If you don't have a good housekeeper, you are not going to succeed. And you don't want to lose a good housekeeper because you're asking too much, or you're not clear. Both of you are not on the same page about what needs to be done or what's expected of the other. Set it right up front. It's probably the most valuable resource you're going to pick, the housekeeper. So
1,000%. And you have to treat them like gold. Treat your housekeeper well, because you can't live without them. All right. So we talked a little bit about housekeepers. Let's talk about getting set up with decor and furnishing. So let's say, for the sake of being brief here, most properties are going to come decently furnished. Decently meaning almost fully furnished, not to the level that you like, but that's not what I mean by decent. So if we're not having to start from scratch and just furnish everything, what are we kind of leaning towards in terms of decor, extra cabinet or modern cabinet, or these are all technical terms, by the way. What are we thinking here?
They're in the dictionary. I've seen them. Up here is similar to the Tennessee side. We do have a lot of cabins up here, and people do come here for the mountain experience. So a nice rustic look is good. You can The modern rustic's good as long as you stick more to the rustic than the modern. People love the mountain experience, but they also love something that looks, symmetrical and nice. That for the most part in those cabins, but if you get towards, a more modern house or something like that, then, that's normal look is fine. Be careful with your all log furniture and stuff like that. In certain cabins that really just gives off like a summer camp vibe, and it doesn't look good. But the log furniture definitely can be implemented in a way that it makes the space look great. So
Chuck, what do you think about furnishing?
You're going to have plenty of time with pictures, and you're probably going to have some video that your agent or your inspector has provided as well. You need to take a hard look at the place and say, what do I need to do to put my fingerprint on it? What do I need to do to make it mine? Because otherwise you're just buying a product that somebody else created and then marketing it. You're going to be better at marketing your own product. And that can mean colors, general vibe. I have never seen a home that didn't need some sort of updating. And that could be as minimal as new mattresses, box springs, maybe a new sofa, all the way to completely redoing all the furnishings. You want it to be consistent. There are, if you have the money, there are people that will hire designers, but I would caution to make sure that your designer knows the market. All too often, I've seen, maybe a little bit too often, in fact, designers, they do a great job. The place is beautiful, but it doesn't match the market. You can look at the pictures and go, that's fantastic. And there are people that will rent it, but you got to look at what your core audience is looking for. Another way to do that is the infamous enemy method. Take a look at the places that are really booking in the area and look at their pictures. I mean, obviously they draw people in, and not just based on price or location. It's an overall package. See what's selling in that market.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that. Like, that's Gary Keller 101, find who's doing the best success and then copy that, use that as your baseline if you want to try something new, but keep your baseline and then always come back to that. So,
and that's why I love this industry so much, is because there's nothing stopping you from, before closing on your property, going and staying in one of those top performers' houses and looking at all your enemies, and then physically coming to your space. Because this is what I like to do. I like to come to the space and spend a week, maybe two, just going through everything and seeing what we have, what we want to change, how we want to put our own little spin on it. And that's where we set up our systems and our processes and build our owner's closets. But most importantly, we set it up for our photography. We set it up so that we can compete directly with the top performers in this market. You can't go wrong with that. Enemy method to the T, and spend some time in your own unit. That's how I like to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can't, invite a friend or a very close friend or family member to do that and give you feedback. So
exactly. You can always leverage it out to the T. You definitely can do it. I'm just one of those weird people who like to go and put my hands on it right off the bat. And so you can do it so many different ways.
Yeah. Same way. I like to do that.
Yep. Yeah. When possible, it's absolutely the best way. Yeah. No question.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we're doing something cool. We're doing something maybe a little different than your average run of the mill cabin, but not so different that we're completely taking ourselves out of the market. Like a Minnie Mouse themed cabin is probably going to be weird in this market. It's probably not going to be one of the top performers. So you want to stay true to the market while still being cool is my very technical, quantitative suggestion. True to the market, but be cool.
Yeah, and do take the time as you're looking at your enemies to figure out what you can do to make yours a little bit different, just so that when they're looking at your listing on the OTAs or even your own website, you don't look exactly like everybody else. You do want some unique items. I've got a good contact in the furniture industry who in another market who was talking with me the other day and said, a guy came in with a picture of another cabin and he goes, I want all this same furniture and I want it in my cabin exactly this way because my cabin is the same layout. That doesn't work. You need, I stress this often, you need to have your own fingerprint. People need to see that it's yours and that it's different, something unique, even if it's just different art. So,
yeah, you got to put your own flavor on it.
Yep.
I totally agree with that. So, all right, I think that's enough about decor and furniture. What about property management software? How do we get that set up? When do we start that process? What does that look like?
Well, the first thing is you should start early and listen to Luke's podcast on PMS software to compare the different products. But you should start that almost right, even before you begin looking. You should have an idea how you're going to run your business. The PMS software is less dependent on what you buy and where you buy it, and more dependent on how you want to run your operations. So, but most of the current software, not going to get into all the details of the different ones. It's not that hard to move and change. You know, your decision is not one that locks you into concrete. They'll almost all of them will import your Airbnb or Vrbo or Booking.com or even some of the regional listings. So it's not a huge decision, but you need to start with something because you need to start populating it and be ready to go. So
in the way our contract process works up here, it's so cut and dry that, you know, after due diligence, you have a clear picture, you know, you're most likely going to close. So getting a head start is always a good idea to, you know, you want to maximize your time that you have it on the market rather than like, you know, this whole void of space where you don't have it on the listed, you know, just puts you behind.
If the place is already listed for rent, you know, as a short-term rental, and many of them are, you know, take a look at the current listing and say, is that my listing? You know, is that the way I want to portray my place? Is that the personality I want my place to, my online personality for my place? Chances are it's not, but that doesn't mean it's not a good starting point. You know, it's take a look at the current owner's listing and just turn it into a simple outline or a list of points that they're making. And then add your own and rewrite it. A lot easier than starting from scratch.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you know, in North Carolina, we have to honor bookings on a short-term rental if you buy it up to 180 days. So, I mean, if you got a bunch of bookings on the place, you really want to get it up and listed like as soon as you close. So, just to take advantage of those bookings.
Yes,
absolutely. And if you're picking a property management software and it's your very first one, like pick a great one and try to be the best at it. And you can always switch. It's not difficult to switch to another one if you don't like the one that you're in. But as you're adding more and more properties, it gets a little more complicated if you've got 5, 6, 10 listings to switch it over. And so really enjoying the one that you're in right off the bat and then deciding, okay, do I want to try one of these other ones or am I the best at this? Because, I mean, if you're picking a brand new software, like this is most likely your very first property.
Yeah.
There's plenty of training for these things too. So out there.
Yeah. And, or, I mean, if you buy with Jay at the short-term shop, then you'll go to Management Monday with Luke and he'll teach you how to do all this stuff before you close. So, all right. So enough on property management software. Let's talk about the tech hardware that you'll need to buy. So what do you need to have in this house tech-wise to help you run it remotely?
Well, no question. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, like the automatic, you know, the door locks where you can program codes into you need those, and you'll always want to have like a spare tucked somewhere around in a box too, as well. But you'll want that, and the remote thermostat. What else? What were you going to say, Chuck?
Actually, pretty much that. But a few other things that may not be intuitive to folks is you know, when you get your internet service, regardless of whether you get it from a cable company or satellite or DSL or fixed wireless, they're usually going to provide you with the modem/router combination. My suggestion is to also get your own wireless router, potentially turning off the Wi-Fi that they provide you. And most of them can do that. And the reason I suggest this is that way you can set up your Wi-Fi the way you want it with your name, your passwords. If the company has to come in and swap it out because it's gone bad, you're not scrambling to change all your documentation because all your router is going to plug into their equipment and your Wi-Fi network is going to be the same. And everything is just going to reattach immediately. So
as a tech guy, Chuck, I completely endorse what you just said. So I was an IT guy for 15 years.
And you can pick the router that you want that's going to give you the best Wi-Fi across the board, which is then going to connect to all your different systems. And so having a camera that you're never going to check because you don't ever want to check it, but if you need it, you have it. That's always important. The wireless locks that you can have. And really, I mean, if you have those two things, you've got the core of what you need. And there's plenty of more softwares out there. You can add all the Nest thermostats, and you can do the noise monitors if you want. But the most important is going to be that lock and that camera, in my opinion.
And
and I'm not going to go down a rabbit hole, but I don't recommend the Nests for short-term rentals.
There you go.
They're learning thermostats, and that really doesn't work in a short-term rental environment. You end up turning off all the learning features, so you've just paid a lot of money for something that you're not going to use.
Mm-hmm.
If you go with the Honeywells or the Ecobees, they have features that are actually very attuned to short-term rentals, including like vacation modes, limits that of the thermostat up and down. Luke has a whole podcast on this, but you want to be careful about what you buy and whether or not you can actually use its features in the cabin. Having your own routers, or you may even need an extender, depending on how the cabin layout is or how large it is. You potentially, from the beginning, want to be able to put that equipment in a locked cabinet somewhere so your guests can't turn it off intentionally or accidentally. If it's in a room where they may sleep, they may not like the little red light and unplug it, not realizing what they're doing. And I also like to use a router that has at least 2 networks on it. Usually they call it a guest network. So you can put your door lock, your thermostat, your cameras, and all that on one, and then use the other one for guest access.
2-channel. And you're absolutely right about that. The extenders, you might need an access point. It depends, because signals can get wonky up in the mountains. So if it's like a multi-level, Wi-Fi might not reach upstairs, so you might need to stick an access point on the ceiling. It looks like a little smoke detector, so I don't think there's much that you need to mess with on hiding that. But it just attaches to the ceiling and extends your Wi-Fi range.
And depending on your layout, you may want to get a water leak detector, depending on your the home and the way it's set up with your water supply. Those they're not cheap. They're anywhere from $80 to $200, but that's a heck of a lot cheaper than having an unknown water leak, especially in the off season when the cabin's empty.
Winter, when a cold snap comes through in December and busts your pipes.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
such a
an investment
great
worth
point.
making right from the beginning.
We just had a hot water heater explode in a top unit, and it flooded down in one of my good friend's cabins. So water detection, huge.
What about internet? When do we set up internet? Because I know that can be a thing in markets like this where it can take a while or there's not a lot of options. And so what are we doing for internet here?
I would recommend at the beginning, once you get through due diligence and whatnot, and that you have a clear picture that you're going to close, I would get it started as soon as possible because, the internet people are slammed up here. There's different options, several different options on this side, but just like anything, even with contractors, get on the radar as soon as you can, and then just, you'd be like, hey, I need it on this date, but I'm contacting you 3 weeks early. So that way it all lines up and, the stars and all that stuff.
Yeah. And a lesson learned hard way is that some providers, you might be thinking, I'll just take over the internet that the owner already has there, but some providers don't let you do that. They want that previous person to turn in the equipment and issue you new equipment. So make sure you do it with plenty of advance warning. But certainly asking the owners what they're using now is a good place to start.
Oh yeah. No, every contract, my transaction coordinator we always get like all the utilities and internet and stuff for our clients. So we like to get that up front for you, but please do not do any of this stuff last minute. Because if you're expecting internet as soon as you close and you call the day before, you're not getting internet for like a week. So,
and who would you typically call to be there for the installation? Because I know it's like between 12 and 4 on Tuesday. Who do you call to do that? Your cleaner?
You can. Some of them do have policies on somebody needs to be in the house, but up here, if it's like a vacation rental or something, typically, some of them will go in and just do it while it's unoccupied. You can call your cleaner, you can call your handyman, just have somebody there. In
many markets, if you're dealing with a bigger company, the Spectrums, the Coxes, the Comcast. Try not to call the 800 number, because those people are just reading off a script. If you can make it out there, during an inspection or visiting your home, go to the local office, talk to the people there. They tend to understand the whole door code culture, and you'll get different answers from them about what's needed for installation. So,
and they might have something for you to sign saying, "Hey, I understand. I'm not going to be there. I give you permission to go in." So,
yeah, it's kind of crazy how a lot of the cable and internet companies are really archaic, especially, and they don't pay attention to the area that they're in. It's just like a blanket way of doing things when, like in any of these markets down here where I live, people just aren't here. Owners aren't here to necessarily be there for all this stuff. It'd be ideal if they could be. If you can, then by all means do it. If you're down in North Carolina to set up your property, but sometimes you can't. And it's kind of annoying when they can't do it. All right. So we figured out internet. What's the main internet company in that area, or internet options? Let's just go over that really quick before we hit some other things.
So we have a local ISP up here that kind of services Maggie Valley and the Jonathan Creek area. That's Zito Media, formerly Smoky Mountain Cablevision. That kind of sounds like something from the 50s, but they got bought out by Zito. But Zito's got a weird range. Like I remember I had the internet on my one of my properties over in Jay Creek, but then, down the road, they didn't go out there because the lines weren't run. So it's kind of hit or miss on that one. But the big cable company out here and services a lot of the areas around here is Spectrum. So there's other options that we have to go with when you're, up higher. And internet can be a problem. That's more of like your like AT&T and Verizon kind of internets and stuff. Just like the Matrix, there's levels of existence we're willing to accept just to get you some internet up there.
All right. So what about TVs? What kind of TVs are we putting in these places? I say you got to have a TV in every bedroom, not just the living room. I know I caught a lot of heat from that when I posted that on Instagram as a reel, but guys, you do. So even if it's just that there's several families in the house and they want to watch different football games, there needs to be more than one TV to do that. It's not about like whether or not it's healthy to sleep with the TV on. It's not about you. That's what I have to say about it. But what do you guys say?
I see that very common up here on like existing short-term rentals. There's usually a TV in every bedroom. There are some I've seen that there's not because they're smaller and, but yeah, I agree with that. In the
I've got
end
that
of
in
the
all
day,
mine. Got in every one of them. Smart Roku TV.
Yeah.
And I got one in the living room right here behind me and one in every bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they have to all be the same brand, in my opinion. So they all work the same way. So if they know how to work every TV, if they know how to work one TV. And I use Roku's also. We do. So It's the easiest to use.
And for the love of God, if there's a CRT in your turnkey short-term rental you just bought, throw that away.
What's that?
CRT. Like the old box TVs, the CRT style. That's a big box.
Oh, it just means like
panel.
it's not
tube
flat.
television.
I didn't know there was a name for that. Now all these tech dudes are laughing at me about it. I didn't know there was a name for that.
I'm over here like, what the heck does this mean? They're all in
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
If they have those,
we're
we need to
old.
get
I
rid
get
of
it.
little tech world.
Yeah, you're young. I get it. Yeah.
No, we had those. We had those up until
Yeah.
I was in college. Like I think that's when flat screen started being the norm. They stopped making the other kind. What is it called? A C what?
It's CRT. It's just the
CRT,
monitor
okay.
style. So I saw one the other day in a furnished short-term rental that had a VCR combo on it. I'm like, dude, like people still on VHS? Let's go. Let's get a flat screen in here.
Yep.
It's hard to even find DVD players now. So we have to actually one time when we moved into a new construction in Tennessee and the internet wasn't connected for like 2 or 3 weeks and we had to watch DVDs. I couldn't find DVDs. Everything's Blu-ray and I don't really know why I had to have DVDs. Oh, and in the motorhome, it's a DVD player too that's like installed built in. And it's really hard to find DVD players and just DVDs and Blu-rays anymore. So even that is becoming kind of old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess you could always get a PlayStation or something. Those all still play DVDs, but
Yeah. Walmart.
Yeah.
Redbox.
Redbox.
Oh man, I used to love Redbox in college.
Does anybody remember Blockbuster?
Oh yeah, that was fun going on a Friday night and they had all the candy that you can't get just at the regular gas station.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember
make sure the right
Blockbuster.
DVD was in the box.
Yeah. Yeah. You get home and it's something that's not good.
Well, I would go in there and I'd get to go pay, and my mom would have like a $75 late fee where she'd just never taken something back that she'd rented for us. And I'd be like, okay, I guess I can't rent this.
Yeah. That's why I like Netflix when it first came out. Like, back in the day, Netflix just mailed you DVDs. They weren't a streaming service. So you could keep it as long as you wanted. You just wouldn't get your next one. Yeah. They still do that. And
I remember thinking when the streaming part of Netflix came out that it was stupid. And now look at us.
It's like part of culture now.
Yeah. Well, that actually is a great segue into my next question. Are we getting cable or are we only having streaming services? I'm a streaming only fan, but what does this market say?
Streaming. Yeah. The Roku, like Joe was saying with that, those are very popular up here. And just about my sister-in-law will come up here to visit and stay in a short-term rental while she's hearing us every time. Every one I've seen is a Roku. So that seems to be the most popular option because it just, it's a variety. It lets you watch what you want to watch. No point in putting cable on because you're at the behest of like the networking. So
the Rokus now also have a live TV option, which I found I've just been checking to see, and like it gives you the local news and whatnot now. And so that's the complaints I used to get. I used to get complaints that I can't see the local news or something like that. And now that they have that option, I have not seen any more complaints on it. So I'm an all streaming service kind of person.
Yeah, the only issue I've run into is, and we use guest mode, so we don't have any liability if people leave their stuff logged in. But during big sports times, like right now, while we're recording this, March Madness is going on. We're Saturday college football, Sunday NFL. People want to watch that, and they don't always have a login account that will get them those services. So that's the only complaint I've ever gotten about streaming, and we've solved it by just having a code that we can get them to log into ESPN and Hulu Live if it comes to that. So
that is a good idea because up here, during the summer when we get slammed in July and stuff, people are wanting to tailgate and watch sports and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and during the off season, I mean, people are going to be in the cabins more, and Dad's going to want to watch his college game.
Yeah, exactly.
Or his football team.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people will argue that, well, now you have to subscribe to so many streaming services, it's the same price as cable. But for me, I think it's still worth it more so than cable, because with streaming, you're not limited to just what is playing live at the time. Like, yeah, there's some on-demand stuff on cable, but not as much as streaming. So I like to choose what I want to watch right now and not be limited to these, 40 options that are on TV that I'm not even interested in 39 of them. So I think it's still worth it, even though it can add up to, if you have enough subscriptions to enough services, it can add up to that, but I think it's still better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed.
If it's in the budget, it's in the budget. So
yeah,
it definitely adds value.
Yep. That's one of those amenities you need to evaluate and determine what's going to get you the biggest bang for your buck on your rental.
And as we're getting these places ready, I'm switching gears real quick to amenities. Are there any specific amenities that we're adding? Are we doing fire pits? Are we doing hot tubs? Is this a market where you have to have a hot tub? We kind of touched on this earlier. What are the amenities that we're adding?
If you can hack it, a hot tub 100%. Like a lot of the ones that are already short-term rentable that are being sold, they'll most likely usually have a hot tub, and I can guarantee you every short-term rental up here has a fire pit outside of some kind. It is very popular up here because what's better than sitting around the fire looking at the mountainscape, so that is 100% recommended. And if you can hack it, yes, put a hot tub in there, because that's also, people go nuts for that. So,
and that's another good plug for the enemy method.
Mm-hmm.
Take a look at the top performers in your market, the ones whose calendars are full, and see what their amenity list has on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Game rooms are starting to gain a popular, not like the pool table, but like the video arcade games, I'm starting to see those a lot more in short-term rentals up here for like the kids' rooms and stuff, like Pac-Man and stuff like that on the old arcade machines.
Those are awesome. I'm a big fan of those because you get the arcade and the game feel without having to deal with the individual games that can get lost and whatever, or like have to have your credit card input on the streaming part of the game so that people can buy, the add-ons and things. So again, they could log into their own account, but I do like the arcade game better than the actual game console personally. I'm not a gamer though, so there may be something that I don't know about it that makes it better. Feel free to at me on Instagram if that's the case.
I agree with you. Like games, but there are systems that you can use to lock up the console, and then you just power it on, and then there'll be like a menu where you can select what game you want to play, and then it plays it for you. But then you got controllers too that could get lost and broken, and the arcade games are really good.
All right. Well, back to inside physical things inside of the cabin. So what are we stocking in a kitchen here? So this is a big point of discussion, I think, because there's a lot of people out there who want everything to be as good as the kitchen that they have at home, which I agree. A lot of people might be cooking holiday meals and big meals for people and things like that. But what are we putting in these kitchens? Are we putting like mid-level? I'm saying like a mid-level pots and pans, like pack, and then, a pack with one of those assortments of like spatulas, slotted spoons, things like that. And then obviously your silverware and everything. But there's like a lot of little things that may or may not be a good addition, like an air fryer. I'm cool with that. I don't really want people messing with an Instant Pot in my house. Even though they're pretty hard to mess up, people can still make mistakes. So what are we putting in these things?
Yeah. And I would put, a decent level of, pots and pans and stuff like that. You really don't want to get crapperware or something and, make it look a little bit nicer. But, I honestly wouldn't. I agree with you. I wouldn't put an air fryer or a Instapot in there. Definitely probably put a Keurig coffee pot combo in there. So, give them the option if they want to brew their coffee or if they want to use a, K-cup to brew their coffee. That's always a good idea in there. And always put a corkscrew in your house because, people love the wine up here. And if trends are sticking in North Carolina, November, December are our best months. So you do see the families coming and cooking meals and stuff. So you want to, take that into consideration when you're stocking up your kitchen. So yeah, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea to put like a turkey pot in there, I mean, as long as you got room, why not?
Yeah, I would say multiple corkscrews because there's nothing more annoying than when you're trying to open a bottle of wine and you're like, crap, there's no corkscrews. So I would have multiple corkscrews. I definitely think a slow cooker is a good one to have.
A crock pot, yeah, would be nice. Stick a tasteful bottle cap opener on the side of something, where you can just pop your beer. So
whatever you got the space for. If you've got the space to add some of these additional amenities, do it. If not, just make sure the stuff that you have is a little bit higher quality and that, again, they're not missing anything. Like I like to put multiple sets of spoons, forks, plates, knives, things like that. The little things so people aren't constantly doing dishes, things like that. But if I've got space, I'll put some of the cooler items you guys are all talking about. But most of my kitchens are unfortunately a little small.
Well, it's a big one. Yeah. Kids wear for sure because kids break stuff.
Yeah. And if you have outdoor dining, you want some sort of dishware and glasses that are less prone to breakage. So,
yep.
Or just inexpensive. You don't want some grandma's china in there, because that's going to get broken.
If you've got a cabin that, sleeps more people, let's say, 14 and up, you may even want to consider a countertop ice maker because most refrigerators won't keep up with a group that big during the summer.
Oh yeah, you're right about that. You were right about that. That's a great one because people start using a bunch of ice and they're like, there's no ice, and then they're mad and then they're complaining. So ice maker, that's a good one. Another big, it's a small thing, but it's definitely something that's been mentioned a bunch of times to us is a pizza roller or pizza cutter because especially people with kids, like, oh, we're going to throw a frozen pizza in there for the kids. And that is also really annoying when there's nothing to cut it with. Yeah, I've used scissors on multiple occasions, but a roller's a big one that's helpful for people.
Yeah, and these things are fairly inexpensive. It doesn't hurt you to have a couple of different kinds because the hot thing in pizza cutters now are the large wheels that are about so big and almost fit in your whole hand. Incredibly easy to use and clean. But some people want the more standard one. Getting back to corkscrews, some people don't mind wine keys, others just can't work them. So they want the rabbit ear kind.
The dolly looking ones.
These are cheap. They don't take up much space. Give people options.
Surprisingly enough, my pizza cutter at home is a bearded axe. It's a pizza cutter, but it looks like a Viking axe. It's funny.
It's beautiful.
I just had a regular one from Williams-Sonoma.
Yeah. There in everybody's drawers at home, you have all those obscure things like a potato masher. Like, I can't tell you making mashed potatoes with a fork and squishing them up. Like a potato masher is so awesome. So just all those little obscure things, you might throw some deviled egg trays in there, so
sharp knives.
Think outside the box on it. What would you want if you were to cook a meal at your house and, kind of go around what that would be like?
Yeah.
The place I stayed in Montana last week or 2 weeks ago had actually really nice food storage containers, not like Tupperware, but like nice stuff. And it was organized really well. And we did use it. You don't think about, I might want to throw this in the refrigerator for later. I don't have anything to put it in. So that's something to think about too.
Yeah. And don't forget servingware. It's not just about prepping and eating. There's that interim step that comes between cooking and putting it on the plate. You need something to put that food in. You need this, big bowls for the mashed potatoes or salad, something to put that, the steaks or the chicken on or turkey. You need to provide those. On food storage containers. Something we've made a habit of doing is we buy huge boxes of the food prep stuff, almost the same kind of thing that you get carry out. And we just have our housekeepers change it. It's obvious if it's been used or not usually. And we just don't worry about it. If there's any doubt, throw it out and put new ones in. Because we tried the Tupperware route, and then you end up with a bunch of things that don't have tops or a bunch of tops that don't have bottoms. And it just goes that much faster in a rental than it does at home. So
use absolutely.
The disposables. It's less headache.
Yeah. I use paper plates at my house all the time because I just don't want to do dishes.
Paper plate. We have kids. That's why.
So much easier. Much easier.
My daughters make so many damn dishes. I'm just like, I'd rather spend the extra money and buy paper plates and bowls.
Yeah. Okay. What else? Anything else on the kitchen or anything else in general? Because we're kind of to the end of the points that I wanted to cover. Anything else we need setup wise that we haven't talked about? I guess we need to talk about the things you'll need or your cleaner will need for turns. So that's extra linens, paper products. What are we leaving in the cabin for people like coffee filters, etc.? What do we do there?
Yeah, leave your coffee filters, stirs, all the basic stuff like that. A lot of places up here will supply K-cups, to a reasonable degree. They're not going to leave a box of them out, but coffee, creamers. What do you see, Chet?
Exactly. Yeah. We also leave, we've been buying these small, like 1 pound things of sugar that you can get on from restaurant supply shops. And we just leave that, we tell the cleaner, just make sure it's good. And, again, if any doubt, throw it out. We're talking about less than $1. And I would say on things like the K-cups and the dish pods and maybe laundry pods, if you leave those, don't be stingy. You're talking about 15 or 20 cents a pod. The last thing you want to do is start putting your guest in a bad mood because they're 1 pod short, and they've got to make a special trip. Don't risk a star on your review because you only wanted to leave 3 pods instead of 4. Just do it.
Yeah, get one of those caddies.
That close, you're doing something else wrong.
Get one of those little K-cup caddies and fill it up like that. Fulfills the expectation. Oh, it's not half full; it's all the way full. So and don't eat the Tide Pods though.
No, yeah. And I would advocate that during the winter have some kind of type of tea bags or something, and during the summer maybe have some of the iced tea bags and a pitcher for it. People may never use it, but they'll notice that you have it.
Yeah, and they'll appreciate it.
Yeah.
They 100% will. And also look at what your competition is providing. If your competition is providing K-cups, tea, coffee, creamers, all that jazz, if you want to compete with them, you got to have those things.
Yeah.
And so we take a really hard look at that of like, what does everyone else provide? And I like to provide more than everyone else, and then it kind of raises the bar. But yeah, that's all your own personal preference on what you provide.
Yep.
All right. What about sheets and towels? Where are we getting those? And what are we getting?
Places. Where do you get yours at, Joe?
So I get all of my towels from Costco. So we'll do a really large Costco deal for all of our towels. And then it's harder for the sheets and whatnot. So we get most of our stuff off Amazon so we can send it directly back here if we need more replacements. That's just kind of been where we've been getting them. It's something that we can repeatedly do. I know there's better options for towels, but I really like the Costco quality.
I'm not sure there are better options for towels.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to your white bathroom towels and stuff, yeah, I've tried them all, and I keep coming back to Costco. So
that's good. We
do Amazon Utopia brand, basically everything, because I think that's the Amazon brand. Maybe I might be wrong about that, but I think it's the Amazon brand. And it's always easy to get. And, sometimes your cleaner will provide sheets and towels, but we like to, in some cases, I think we might have just switched in one of our markets to letting the cleaner provide them so we don't have to mess with it. But you ideally want to provide your own to the cleaner so that you have control over the quality, in my opinion.
And the number one item bought on Black Friday is towels. Just a little tidbit of
I did not know that.
That's incredible.
You can really never have too many towels in a short-term rental or your own house. It always seems like there could be more. I could benefit from having more.
Especially if you have kids.
Yeah,
that's such a great idea. Go buy all my new towels on Black Friday.
Incredible. Yeah, man. Yeah.
So, we've talked about getting a number of different things, but what we haven't talked about is where to get it, how to get it to the cabin. I know there are folks that just rely on Amazon, but how are Amazon deliveries in this market?
It depends where you're at. Location. A lot of, I don't want to say anything bad about Amazon or FedEx, but sometimes they're not going to go up to your property, and you might have to arrange that, to get that somewhere else, or if you have a relative there, have it sent to your relative, have your relative take it up, etc. But I just had a problem recently where one Amazon truck delivered to their front door, some stuff, and then the other one just left it at the bottom of the hill at somebody else's house. I don't know if that was error or if they just didn't want to go up the mountain, but up here, there's definitely some roads where it's really hard to get an Amazon truck or UPS or FedEx up in here. So you might have to come up with alternative measures, especially big ticket items like beds and furniture and stuff. You might have to make arrangements for that.
Sure, and that's something that you can maybe have a conversation with your cleaner or handyman about whether they would accept deliveries for you.
Yeah,
looking it up, it appears there's only one Amazon locker in the entire area at a Staples in Waynesville.
Yep.
And lockers won't take the large things. They like mattresses, for example. If it doesn't fit in the locker, they won't take it. So
yeah, and we do have there is one furniture store I know of here in Waynesville. It's High Country Furniture. But it's really nice stuff, and you're going to pay a good amount for that stuff if that's what you want. That's an option for you there too, and it's local if you buy on the Haywood County side over here. But as far as I know, the closest furniture store is going to be Asheville, and if you're buying over in Waynesville, it's 30 minutes away. I don't know if any of y'all have ever used Wayfair for furnishing, but sometimes they have good stuff.
Yeah, it seems to be a hit or miss, and it has as much to do with the delivery company as it does with anything else. They have good stuff, no question, but it doesn't always arrive in the shape that you expect it to.
Yeah, I ordered a couch from Wayfair, and I live on the third story in an apartment building, and they made me carry all my furniture up the stairs. So they're like, screw that. I'm like, well,
oh man.
So yeah.
So that gets back to those original discussions with your potential housekeepers, and are you aware of any sort of cabin concierge services in your area? I know they have some of that in the Smokies, in Tennessee Smokies, but
That's what I'm aware of, but it's now on my radar that I'm going to go look for those and see, because that'd be a very handy service for people, especially up here, and especially if you're up on the mountain. So,
yeah, it'd be a moneymaker for somebody as a side gig. So,
now,
if you live in the area and you're thinking, you need a side gig, this could be it.
just gave me an idea, Chuck.
Yeah, or I mean, you could use like a host GPO or a Minoan to do all this. But again, I don't know exactly how it works in the more remote areas. Might be the same thing. So I definitely check with either of those vendors on what they specifically do. All right. Anything else in regards to setup in this market that we should hit on? We've hit on consumables, your linens, what you need to have in the kitchen, furniture, your hardware tech stack. Did we go over cameras? I know we did thermostats and door locks, cameras.
Kind of
Just
briefly.
touched on them, but
Yeah, they're not absolutely necessary up here, but they are handy to put outside your door to monitor traffic in and out. One thing I saw in one house too is like a outside nature camera that captured all the wildlife coming in at night.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like an extra amenity kind of thing. But just threw that out there because that's kind of neat.
Well, and as a marketing tool, if you have like a killer view, maybe you can put one up on a roof or roof eave or something as sort of a internet webcam, and use that in your marketing. Check out our view, literally.
Oh, that's cool.
See what you're missing. I love that.
Yeah.
It's from the bird's eye.
All right. Well, cool. Well, if that is it, then we will sign off. Guys, if you want to buy a house with Jay and go axe throwing, email us agents@theshorttermshop.com. That will also get you access to Management Monday with Luke, where he'll teach you how to set all this stuff up, among other things related to basically everything related to running your short-term rental remotely. And if you guys just have more questions, there's a few places you can get us. We have a weekly office hours call on Thursdays. You can sign up for that at strquestions.com or join our Facebook group. It's called Short-Term Rental, Long-Term Wealth. Same as my book. Thanks, guys.
Take care.